Hey, welcome folks. Dave Politis, the Can-Am Missing Project, copyrighted edition for my video page. What you're looking at behind me is the North Fork of the Flathead River. An absolutely epic place right now this time of the year. The flows are down, fishing is great, and the biggest thing going on out here is huckleberry season. And as you drive down the road going up to the North Fork, up to Glacier, you can see pockets of cars where people have pulled off to the side of the road picking their huckleberries. And it's kind of a secret out here about where everyone's huckleberry patch is located. So if you've never had huckleberries, big deal out here in northern Montana. Huckleberry pies, jam, everything you can imagine. It's pretty magical. So I'm going to go over a couple things in this video that I haven't covered in recent times. And I constantly get hammered on it to say, hey, why this, why that? Okay, I'm going to cover it one more time real quick. So, psychics and remote viewers. I've covered remote viewers at length. I've said in the past that they tell great stories about their past. I'm not concerned about their past. I'm concerned about the future. If they are so good, go out and find somebody who's missing. Anybody. Go find them. And unfortunately, I don't know of one case that they found of a missing person. I don't know of a better venue to exploit your ability than to go find somebody from a family that's heartbroken that their child or their loved one is missing. Devote some effort, go do it. Psychics, same thing. It's not that I don't believe in psychics. I think there are a few out there that are really good. I haven't found them. I know other law enforcement people have used them in the past. I don't know any that are around right now. I don't need psychics and remote viewers to contact me and tell me how good they are. Because if you are good, then show me the contacts you've had with law enforcement where you found somebody. And if you don't have those, don't come to me. And you don't need me. As I've said a million times. The information is in there in the public venue about the cases I've written about. You don't need me to go find those people. You go find them. You tell me about them. You tell me where you found them at. I'll follow up with the police. I'll make you a superstar. I'll make you famous if you can do it. And I've said this over the last 10 years. And how many people have they found? None. Enough of that. Recently, somebody sent me some posts about Joe Rogan. First of all, I think Joe's a really smart guy. And people have written some absolute lies about me and Rogan, saying I won't go on the show. Bull. The executive vice president for the distribution company for our movies has personally contacted Joe's producer, sent him our movies, and they can tell by the link how many times they watched it, and they watched it many times, and they won't have us on. So, I know Joe's a hunter, and the movie is about hunters and missing hunters. So, I would hesitate to say that he's probably uncomfortable talking about it, as many people are these days. And if I was a hunter, and I went out there all the time, maybe I'd be concerned too. I don't know. I can't speak for him. But the truth of the matter is, we've tried to go on their show. I think it'd be a great interview. I think he's an intelligent guy. But that's not going to happen. So I appreciate you people bringing it up and saying, why don't you go on the show? Hey, we tried. No luck. So he doesn't want to talk about it. That's the best I can say. Now, talk about bodies that are found. There's a couple things that are never mentioned in the reports on missing people and bodies. The number one thing is the condition of the feet. In the last video I made about Mr. Chase, who disappeared in New Zealand, they did mention the feet and how he was found in a location that was previously searched, and his feet were not damaged, worn, didn't show any injury about being in the woods. That's a key point. Most of the time on these missing person searches, when a body's found, there's never a mention of the feet and their condition. Stomach contents. A lot of you people have brought that up from that last case. Great point. I'm interested in it as well because it shows what the last meal was that they had. If they can show that maybe they were eating wild berries, well, maybe they were lost in the woods for a long time. But if they show that it was a meal from McDonald's, yeah, maybe not so much. So what's in their stomach is critically important and not noted. The date and the time of the death. It can be found from the condition and the temperature of certain body parts. Most of the time it's not listed in the report for some reason. And that's of a concern to me because it tells me where that person has been when they were alive versus when they were alive versus when they were dead. If the body was found in a river and the person, or on a creek bed, and the person died 5 days ago, and that location had been searched in the previous times, well, we know the person wasn't there, and they weren't walking around in that time frame. Critical. They can also tell, a coroner can tell how long somebody's been in water, like right here. And it's based upon certain things your body does when it's in water and you're deceased. Those are critically important to me as well. Facial hair and beard growth. This is important to me because if somebody's lost in the woods, then they're not going to have access to a razor. And I want to know, did they have facial growth, facial hair growth? One of the last things is the cause of death. Now, many times in some locations, in some jurisdictions, this is a politically motivated decision. A lot of times, a coroner may make a decision based on just soothing the appetite or the concerns of the family. And I understand that. Say if it's a close call, they'll just say maybe it's hypothermia or maybe it's drowning. 99% of the coroners out there are ethical. Just like in any other profession, there's 1% that are probably questionable. But many of them are there just to comfort the family. And some of them are interested in the truth. Now, as I've said in the last video, go look at the description under the video, under the screen you're watching right there, because that will tell you about the video and other things related to my work. Well, in the last video, everyone said, oh, why didn't you look at this article? Why didn't you post that article? Hey, I did. It was posted right under the screen. But you guys kept sending it up. That's okay. But it just kind of shows that people aren't watching the whole video and people aren't paying attention. You might want to hold your comments till you watch the entire video, where I did say in there what the coroner thought the cause of death was. Now in this video, we're going to talk about a different case. It was a case that was covered by Netflix in their new series, Unsolved Mysteries. Unsolved Mysteries was an old TV series with Robert Stack. It was really good. They did some great things on it. Now the case I'm going to talk to you about, you're going to see why I'm talking about it quickly. It's an individual named Alonzo Brooks. Alonzo was a 23-year-old biracial. He was half Hispanic, half black. He was the youngest of 5 kids. And he lived in an area in Kansas, just south of Kansas City, named Lacine. L-A-C-Y-G-N-E, pronounced Lacine. And it's about 5 miles west of Missouri, with several large bodies of water, including a lake very near that city. Now, he went with some friends on April 3rd, 2004, to a party in this city. About 100 people, young kids. And during that party, people said he was having a good time. A lot of people saw him. And he left to go get some cigarettes. And when he came back, he couldn't get back in. Well, he called some friends trying to get them to get him in, etc., and he couldn't do it. And eventually, he disappeared. Nobody saw him leave. Nobody saw him cry for help. There was nothing, no agony, no nothing, just gone. So his mom reports him missing. He lived with his mom. Huge search, major search, and went on for many days. Property was searched. There's a creek behind, Middle Creek, right behind the house that was searched. Nothing was found. Well, some friends were driving that area, and off one of the roads in that location, near that location, they found Alonzo's shoes and they found his hat. Now, what's interesting to me is in the hundreds of stories I've written like this, it isn't law enforcement that finds this stuff. And it isn't search and rescue, it's friends. And I think that's a critical part of this. And this is not an indictment of search and rescue and law enforcement, quite the contrary. I don't think the stuff is there. And in a weird kind of way, it's almost as though these people were supposed to find it. So they find this stuff. Well, about a month after he disappears, parents and friends asked the people that owned the property if they could go back and search again. They said, sure. So they show back up on the property and they start searching. And within a very short period of time, they find Alonzo's body in Middle Creek at the back of this property. And it was kind of entwined in some bushes in the creek, or on the fringe of the creek. Again, law enforcement didn't find it, friends and family did. And it was in an area that had been searched many times in the past. The body is picked up by law enforcement and it goes to the coroner. And the assumption that was made is that he had been dead about a month and probably been in the creek about a month. And because of that, they said that they couldn't determine a cause of death. And then the FBI came out later on and said, well, you know, things have happened since 2004. We're much more able to determine the cause. A bunch of garbage. Not much has transpired in the last 16 years to determine cause of death in a situation like this. So I think it's an odd case. Now, let's go over the facts of this. First of all, the FBI was involved in this very early on, extremely early. And the implication in a lot of the articles said, oh, maybe they thought it was a hate crime because it was a predominantly white area. I don't think so. There was no evidence of a crime. No evidence of a crime. Why does the FBI get involved? Well, as I've stated many times, on these cases, the FBI magically appears and they start being interested. There still is no evidence of a crime. Even though many people believe that he was murdered, there's no evidence of a murder. Now let's go over the facts associated with this, which are important to you to remember, because I want you to be that critical thinker. We can't find every one of these cases out there, and in your part of the world, wherever that is, Scandinavia, Spain, Europe, Africa, I've gotten Asia, Japan, China, I've gotten emails from all over the world. And this is really helpful to me if they match our profile. Unknown cause of death. He disappeared near water. He was found in a creek in water. Missing shoes, missing hat. We don't know the stomach contents because that hasn't been released. They didn't release the condition of his feet, which would have been important. He was missing from a party with 100 people, and there were no witnesses. Nobody saw him leave. Nobody saw him in distress. Key point on this. In Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence, I wrote about a number of young men, just about Alonzo's age. He's right there in that perfect age bracket, that were at a party, at a bar, drinking, and disappeared. And nobody saw these people leave. Nobody saw them enter water. Nobody understands how they got away from there with nobody seeing. Now, in Alonzo's case, there's a belief out there that, oh, somebody's hiding the truth, which could be. Maybe he was murdered. But I'm telling you that the facts in Alonzo's case line up perfectly with what I've written about in Sobering Coincidence. And there are hundreds of these cases from around the world that match up with this case. The FBI knows what's going on. I guarantee it. And they're interested to understand what's happening because they don't. Now, is there evidence from family and friends that they're withholding? I doubt it. There are other missing 411 cases that align with this nearby. Now, down the middle of the United States, there's this gap of no cases. And then there's this eastern fringe where the cases start again, almost in line with Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas-Missouri border, underneath Kansas City is where this was. And it's almost that line where Alonzo's case started again and where cases start showing up. He's found in an area that was previously searched dozens of times. There's a lot of profile points I just hit on. Now, why was it in Unsolved Mysteries? Because it's really a mystery. Because a lot of these things don't make sense to people who don't know the facts I'm giving you. Now, I can give you just this case, and I could give you Mr. Chase's case, and I could give these to you one at a time. But in sobering coincidence, there are dozens and dozens of these cases. When you hear about one or two, you still have a question in your mind if it's real, or is he reaching for facts? Is he trying to make this suspicious? Folks, no. I'm not trying to do anything, because all of the facts line up in these other cases that I've written about. And there's been dozens of more since I wrote the book. So what I'm telling you is it's hard to convince people over a video how imperative this topic may be to a family who has a young man specifically in their midst. It's confusing. Some of the cases I've written about involving associations like this, people were on the phone and talking to people live on the phone when they disappeared. A couple of cases like that right near St. Paul, Minnesota, in years past. And then they're later found in the Mississippi River. Well, the FBI thought that these cases were so suspicious, specifically this one on Alonzo, that they offered a $100,000 reward for someone who could come up and solve it. Now, do I think this is ever going to be solved? Unfortunately not. Do I think that this is aligned with the other cases I've written? I absolutely do. And I'm not trying to stretch to make it work. The facts are there. I just went through all the facts with you that line up. How many more cases of this will there be this summer? Probably many that I'll never hear about. So, what I want you to do is to keep an open mind on this topic. If you live outside of North America specifically, I'm interested in hearing about cases that match up like this. Now, they don't necessarily have to have missing clothing or missing shoes, one or the other. Preferably an age bracket between 18 and 30. Excellent shape. A lot of times these people are of high intellect. Many times, in fact, in every incident I can find, nobody has ever seen these people go in the water. There's no canines that pick up a track or a scent going from the last location seen until the water begins. They just magically appear in the water. Many times I've written about it appeared that the person, say, went in a river right next to where I'm talking to you, but they're found upstream 5 miles. The body. It makes no sense. How can that happen? So, these are the kind of things that, and I've written about cases in Spain, Canada, US, many cases in the UK I've written about in the book. It's disturbing to me greatly. And I feel sorry for the parents of the victims who feel that they're alone on these incidents. Truth of the matter is, there's many, many hundreds of families that are in the same position as them, and they don't know it. So, last thing, it's summer. It's the greatest time of the year in Montana. And as I'm looking around here, there's probably 20 people camping downstream from me, maybe a mile, and they're all right on that river. And why? Weather's great, fun, perfect water, clean. It's the time to be out. If you're going to go for a hike, carry a personal locator beacon. Tell somebody where you're going. Check the weather on your phone before you go hiking. Weather does play into missing 411 cases. A lot of other things. Always carry a lighter, map, hard map, trail guide. There's a long list of things that I recommend on my previous videos. And of those previous videos, there's now 50 of them on this channel that you can watch. 50 videos. And they all involve missing 411, either safety aspects, missing people, or some hints that I'll come up with along the way. So I really appreciate your time on this. Because Alonzo Brooks's case got a lot of attention on Netflix, I'd appreciate it if you could forward this to your friends that have Netflix so they can see the association that I'm making here. And again, there is one. It's a big one. So I really appreciate you helping me out, watching my channel, spreading the word about missing 411 and the Can-Am Missing Project. This is my channel. You can email me anytime at missing411@yahoo.com. I'm interested in those cases from other countries. Hope you have a great week, and I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.